Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. So here we are, just Monday. Honestly, just is this Monday, Tuesday? I think this is Tuesday. It's Tuesday. Here we are, Tuesday. But Monday, a lot of this fell down. And what we have now are the FIA trying to enforce, are going to enforce what they call stiffer regulations in regards to rear wing flexion. Now, I am, of course, all in for implementing the rules, making sure teams follow the rules. Big shout out to Baraka, man. How you doing, brother? Unfortunate situation for Haas over the weekend with Ali, man. That was tough. But I'm all for the rules being enforced. I'm all for teams following the rules. I'm all for teams trying to find ways within the regulations to improve and or, because I know what some people say, take advantage of the gray area. What's up, Lord Chaos? That's all fine in the war of spoils when it comes to these teams trying to be the best versions of themselves. We've seen it plenty of times. We saw with Aston Martin, once the regulations kicked in for the new era of the cars we're in now, no real defined in-wing plate. They found a way to make that rear wing unison, but kind of have the surface area mimic end plate. But they were able to use that throughout the rest of the season because it wasn't illegal. It was an exploitation that the rules allowed. All right. Then we had DOS by Mercedes, not illegal, an exploitation of where the rules did not say you cannot do that. But of course, we always have Christian Horner and Red Bull complaining about things that they often don't have. And this is also part of the game, right? It's not as if Christian Horner is doing something other team principals wouldn't do, but he does it in a way other team principals don't do it, right? He complains unnecessarily because he's not at the forefront of situations, which I wonder if this is a catalyst for why the FIA are doing this so soon. Okay. So here it is right here. Let's just go over some of this briefly, some of the verbiage. We'll see right here that having analyzed footage from the rear wing deformations combined to the static deflections measured inside the FIA garage in Melbourne, the FIA has concluded that sufficient grounds exist for a tougher test to be introduced from the forthcoming Chinese Grand Prix on the upper rear wing. Now, more specifically, Article 3.15.17, introduced in 2025, states that the 75 kilograms of vertical load is applied on either extremely of the rear wing main plane. The distance between the main plane and the flap, also known as the slot gap, must not vary by more than 2 millimeters. Okay? Must not vary by more than 2 millimeters. That is the grounds that they set. Those are the parameters that they said is allowable. 2 millimeters. This is what they said, right? So it doesn't say illegal, which is killing me that some people, and I'm gonna keep it real with you. It's not just some people calling this illegal. This is not illegal. What's up, Dave Quattro? This is not illegal. They didn't say that they found somebody within they didn't say that they found a team that were illegally exploiting the rules. That's not what they say. They actually said 2 millimeter gap. So that means there was no illegal rear wing used in McLaren. So I don't know why all these videos are popping up that McLaren has an illegal rear wing. Evidently, their wings passed the test in the FIA garage. But for some reason now, the FIA, appreciate all the love in the live chat, the FIA now want to immediately enforce a rule coming up in the next GP in the second race of the year. Second race of the year. It seems a bit premature to me. It does. It seems a bit premature. But okay, let's continue to go for it. So it says, from the forthcoming Grand Prix in Shanghai, this limit will be reduced to 0.5 millimeters. You're taking it down 1.5 millimeters. Within respect of the measurements there, that's a lot. So either you got it wrong or somebody else got it extremely right and another team didn't. So now I wonder, are we playing some type of game to benefit another team? Let's not forget, in 2021, teams had a lot of time to adjust to certain rules before the FIA kicked in anything. Let's also not forget the FIA knowingly introduced ground effect cars while there was only one team that had an engineer within their ranks who had fond knowledge of ground effects previously on Formula One cars. But you knowingly changed the regs to where you knew there was only one team that would have an extreme advantage in Red Bull. You did that. You didn't do a lot to change it throughout that season. I'm just saying, it took you a lot longer than one race to change parameters of the floor before this even happened. So I just got to question it. That's all I'm saying. I just got to question it. So here it is. Teams are informed of this revised test early Monday on the 17th. All right, just a day past. The FIA wishes to further confirm that during Melbourne event, all cars tested against the requirements. All right, right here. So everybody posting these videos of McLaren having an illegal rear wing is absolutely garbage. That's absolutely not true. Because they say right here, all cars tested against the requirements of the article 3.15.17, it clearly says, and found to comply. Therefore, all cars in the Melbourne were deemed to be legal. McLaren is not using an illegal rear wing. What McLaren are using is a rear wing within the requirements of the FIA on a car that outperformed everybody else's car, including Max Verstappen. So what I wonder here, all right, and as we see it, update to Article 3.15.17, when 75 kilograms of load is applied to the rear wing, the slot gap must not vary by more than 0.5 instead of 2 millimeters, with a temporary 0.25 millimeter tolerance for Shanghai. All right. So what you got right there is basically plus or minus 2.5. Okay. Plus or minus 0.25. So people, this is absolutely seeming to be a little bit premature. What's up, Galactus? Not only premature, but it almost seems, and it could be looked at as just like this picture. I think this picture says it all. Somebody is starting off a season, because what did I tell you all? I said likely, if Max Verstappen starts off the season like he left off last season, he's not a world champion in 2025. I told you this. And I'm going to also say this, and this also goes for other drivers that were in the race, besides for McLaren. It applies to anybody aside from McLaren. Without weather conditions and these incidents, let me show you what was happening to Red Bull. All right, let me just show you what was happening to Red Bull. If we look at this right here, look at Red Bull right here. There's Max Verstappen right here. Look at that gap, 0.75 seconds. Now, I want you to watch that gap, okay? I want you to watch that gap from the leader and the gap right here from the car in front of him, which is Piastri. Watch that gap, 0.75 to 8.1 seconds. An increase of 5.7 seconds now behind Piastri. I want you to watch that gap even further. Watch that gap. 9.5 seconds and 7.2 seconds behind the McLaren cars. Just keep watching that gap. 10.47 seconds and 8.2 seconds behind the McLarens. Okay? Look at the gap. It is almost 11 seconds. It is 11 seconds. It's 11.4 seconds from the leader and 9.5 seconds from the second place car, which is Piastri. This 12 seconds. So don't let anybody tell you that Max Verstappen was dragging a car. He wasn't dragging a car. He was just getting gapped. McLaren are starting off the season as they left off last season. Max Verstappen and Red Bull are starting off this season as they were for half of the season last season. So now all of a sudden, we're changing the reg. Matter of fact, chat, 13 seconds, 13.2 seconds behind the leader, 11.87 seconds. This is looking 2022 reminisce. We got 083 in the live chat says, good morning, Jay. What's up, my fam? Wolfpack, what's going on, brother? So why the urgent change? Why are we not allowing teams to adjust to the regulations you already had in place? That's typically what we do. That's typically what I've seen. Not what we do because I'm not part of the FIA, but that is typically what we have seen. The new regs kick in and we allow some time to settle because everybody's trying to figure it out, and maybe one team figures out a little faster than other teams, or a couple of teams are a little bit more on board than other teams. Let's give it a few races, maybe five races, and see what happens. But here it is, 14 seconds of a gap. Max Verstappen is getting gapped by 14 seconds. 14 seconds. Still on podium, for sure right now, but getting gapped by 14 seconds. I'm just saying it seems a little bit odd to be trying to employ these regulations so suddenly, where it seems like you're impacting one team and one team is the focus of these regulations from a general consensus. McLaren, Galactus says McLaren is cooking. So far, Red Bull just mad and slow. Thank you. And I would like to point out, it's still one of the fastest cars on the track. Red Bull's still one of the fastest cars. I mean, you're gapping Russell by 8 seconds. Russell by 8 seconds. Leclerc by damn near, 12, 13 seconds. So, I mean, hey, you still got one of the fastest cars. And it's oddly funny that I always hear these points, which we're going to have another video and we're going to have a laugh. We're going to have a laugh because I came across a social media post and it was absolutely comedy. It was absolutely comedy. I think it's only right for us to have a little comedy ourselves in due to them giving us some comedy to be had. 083 says there's a lot of Red Bull tears. There are a lot of Red Bull tears out here in these streets. There's a lot of crying. And you know what's oddly funny? I'm just saying, when you play these games, you play silly games, you win silly prizes. You put out a certain amount of energy, you get back a certain amount of energy. Wasn't Red Bull talking about a lot of people crying last season? And then we had asymmetric braking, which was illegal. That was illegal. We know you're not supposed to have that. We know you're not supposed to break the cost cap. That's illegal. We know you're not supposed to do that. It's oddly funny. Throughout all the transgressions of Red Bull breaking rules, Red Bull found to be illegal, officially illegal. They just told you that there's no team that had an illegal wing, including Red Bull. So I don't know why all these people are yapping, talking about, oh, McLaren's using an illegal wing. No, they're not. It's not illegal. It was within the confines of the regulations. Now, all of a sudden, they want to change them. They want to slim them down. And true, it goes for all teams, but why? You had all of this time to do research, development. K5, Witherspoon, White Iverson says Red Bull had 2 years head start. Let them cry. I agree. 2 years head. You had more than 2 years head start. Adrian Newey's fond knowledge of ground effects go back a long time, since when he was with Williams. That's a long time. That's a lot of knowledge sitting in one team when you change the regulations that benefited pretty much one team. Oh my gosh, chat, while we're sitting here talking, 15 seconds. Max Verstappen getting gapped by 15 seconds from the leader and 14.4 seconds from the next car, which is Piastri. I would bear to think, yeah, there's a lot of Red Bull tears. You want to know why? Because even if, let's say I'm correct. Let's say I'm correct about what I said last season. It's a classic 1. That means immediately correct. Classic 2 is eventually correct. And the classic 3 means just absolutely, completely wrong. I'm not going to be a classic 3. I'm going to fall somewhere between a 1 and a 2, which is immediately correct or proven correct. I told you all, next season, if Max Verstappen starts off the season like the back half of the season before, 2024, he will not be a driver's champion. If McLaren starts off the season the way they started off the back half of the season and started to this season, you're going to see a different tone in Formula One. Max Verstappen will hit his head on 4 world championships, which is what Sebastian Vettel had already accomplished with the same team. And then that's going to be it. And if this is the case, that this is Max Verstappen not able to win races in just a smidge of a subpar machinery, which really not subpar. It's still the dominant car it was. McLaren just got better. McLaren got better. Red Bull didn't get worse. Other teams are getting better, which is what happens when you have years and years or seasons and seasons of a regulation and teams dial in. So now all that has to happen is Max Verstappen just has to prove that he is the ultimate driver that you all say he is. That now that competition is catching up and even in the field of play, Max Verstappen just has to be the great driver that you all say he is and win these races to the point that he can get a driver's championship. That's it. That's all he has to do. That's all he has to do. Now he is among equal or competitive competition. That's what this is. Stop trying to sell it like Red Bull's worse, Red Bull's horrible, Red Bull's car is slow, Red Bull's basically driving a Haas, because last time I heard, Helmut Marko said that Max Verstappen could take a Haas or an AlphaTauri to pole. So he should be able to win a driver's championship this season if 2 or 3 other teams have equal or better performance. That's what a lot of y'all said. And if he does it, I'm cool with it. You finally, in a situation where you're not the front runner, in a situation where regulations don't benefit one team, in a situation where you haven't been heavily penalized, in a situation where your team was not penalized within respect of breaching the cost cap, in a situation where 2021 you got gifted a championship, you finally, within equal competition, within teams that have equal competitively cars, prove that among my peers in equal machinery are better, I can still be the best. And I will applaud that if that happens. But right now, here it is. We're starting off and we got to enforce regulations that are going to impact McLaren, who got it right within the regulations, and therefore bring them back some. And we'll see if that happens. It may not happen. McLaren still might have the ingenuity and the team press to still push through this and still do what they got. Oh, matter of fact, chat, while we were talking, 16 seconds gap on Max Verstappen. While we were talking, the gap that was once 8 seconds has doubled on Max Verstappen and Red Bull and the rest of the field. I don't recall the FIA trying to kick in and all of a sudden slow down Red Bull when they were gapping teams by 19 and 20 seconds. I don't recall that. I don't remember that happening. I don't. So why all of a sudden now is it such a press to do this when McLaren got it right within your regulations? DG Big Blue, Big Navy, hoorah. DG Big Blue says, what about the fake engine free? Oh, man. What about that fake engine freeze Red Bull got to enjoy? What about that? Very good, DG Big Blue. I didn't even think to bring that up. What about that? All I'm saying is keep consistency. This is why various people have a problem with the FIA governing the sport of Formula One, because there seems to be a heavy amount of bias at times. There seems to be some motive behind the regulations when they're tweaked, aside from just making the sport equal and competitive. It seems to kick in, and sometimes it seems as it comes off that it benefits one team. Whether this is the extreme factual case or not, okay, I'll leave it up for interpretation. But what I can say is, without a doubt, it's way too early to try to enforce these regulations when you already had seasons to figure out what you wanted to put in place? There should be at least 4 races, at least minimum 4 events before we say, okay, maybe we got to change this, right? Maybe we got to change it. But you got one event in inclement weather, adverse situations, a rookie baptism, and you're already trying to change. The only thing that I can say, and only reason I feel like you're trying to change this is because of somebody getting their ass whooped. That's all I can say. I mean, just thinking off the brain, somebody getting their ass whooped. And that one person getting their ass whooped, which you and a lot of media have already tried to start on, oh, he's going to equal Schumacher's record. Oh, he's going to be the best. He can't be the best getting his ass whooped by 16 damn seconds. In bad weather, I might add. This is not even dry, clean track, good heat conditions for sticky tires. This was in bad weather. This was in adverse weather. So I don't know what that looks like with McLaren on a track that's dry in good weather conditions. I don't know what that gap turns into. That could be crazy. You could be looking at a 25-second gap right there. But I don't recall the FIA being so headstrong and hamstrung to go ahead and say, you know what, we gotta slow this down. We gotta implement regulations. Red Bull's floor is just too dominant for the I don't recall you doing that. So why now? That's all I'm saying. Why now? And if this is what you're gonna do, then you need to do this going forward for the rest of time. The rest of time. This is why we don't trust the FIA. This is why things look a little bit funny, and why people are posting that McLaren are using an illegal wing is absolutely shenanigans. It's not illegal. They clearly said it right there. They passed the checks. It is what it is. I mean, Red Bull have a front flexi wing like hell too. I mean, what are we doing? Red Bull took what you did not intend for with the beam wings, which I said was illegal for them to do. You wanted 2 surfaces to be unison as one, and they took and found a way to separate them, utilizing them for more or less downforce. I said, hey, that's free game right there. But I don't recall you trying to change that. So that's all I'm saying. I think we needed a little bit more time before they decided to go ahead and change the regs after one event in inclement weather. I just think we should have waited another few events before doing all of this. It just seems a little bit premature, and with it being premature, it comes off a little bit suspicious, and with it being suspicious, I have to wonder who it's going to impact the most, and it's going to be the team that's been doing the best at developing their car from last season to this season. But anyway, we'll see what happens in the next event. We'll see what happens in the next race. We'll see how this all comes out. And then I'm telling you, if you see a drastic change in something and then all of a sudden there's a halt on trying to change regulations, got to wonder what's up with that. All right, anyway, let me know what you think about this. Dave's Quattro, Walter Shavers, Lord Chaos, DG Big Blue, Galactus, Dave White Iverson, Baraka kicked in. Let me know, everybody in the comment section, everybody watching the video, let me know what you think about these regulations being changed so suddenly. Let me know how you feel about the performance of McLaren, Red Bull, Christian Horner trying to fill out petitions on everything. Just let me know how you feel about the whole situation down below in the comment section or in the live chat. All right, peace and love. Wolfpack out. See you soon.